to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I see you are making progress.
That minutes show that all board members are present. Verification of notice.
The meeting was properly noticed.
Okay. Any public comment on items not on the agenda? Scott, I know you're wanting to talk, so you can come up to the table. The mic is there. For politicians, we limit them to 3 minutes.
You go right if I take pictures of him?
Sure.
I went to his campaign.
Yeah, I kind of figured that.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for the time. Thank the board for allowing me to speak.
Pull that mic ahead a little bit so you got a little, the TV audience can hear you better.
Okay, now you go ahead and make me nervous. Is that better?
You're fine.
I'm fine?
Yep.
Okay, okay, it's just for the TV audience, it's not for here.
Right.
Ah, okay. Again, I thank the town board for allowing me to speak this evening. I'm Scott Johnson, and I'm running for to represent you in the 33rd District of the state legislature. I'd like to share a few thoughts as to why I decided to run or why I'm running. I farm over by Hebron for 38 years. I served on the Fort Atkinson School Board for 15 years. I'm tired of nothing getting done. I want to build bridges. I don't want to build canyons. I don't want to divide us. I want to bring us together. I've become aware, not that it's real tough, but towns are having a good time with roads because it tends to be a budget that seems to be borrowed from to balance other budgetary needs is what I've come to understand. But if we're collecting enough state tax, road tax, I'd like to know where we're spending it because I've been on enough roads that tend to want either a part of my body or a part of my car. And after I repair that car, I consider that bill a tax because I jumped from one pothole to another and I broke the front end of the car. The school funding, I'd like our local schools to have equitable funding. I like our rural schools to have the same opportunity to educate their students as other school districts. I want that funding to be transparent. I want it to be equitable. I want the taxpayer to know where their dollars are going and who's spending them and how they're spending them. I'm a little bit too old to become a career politician. I think they're part of our problems that we have at times. If you can't get something done in a term or two, 8, 10, 12 years, I think it's, allow someone else to have an opportunity to represent the people and guide the people and lead the people. I think the more eyes and ears that we have look at issues, the better results that we can get. Common sense, practical, logical solutions, I believe, are far better than some that are being proposed today. I will plan to, like I say, build bridges, work with everyone. It's about, we have more in common than we have what should be dividing us. And I'm planning on sticking around, listening to your program, your meeting, and I'll answer questions individually following your meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment on items not on the agenda? If not, you've all had a chance to look at the minutes from the August 16th, 2022 board meeting. Are there any additions or corrections?
I would move acceptance as distributed or written.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to approve the minutes from the August 16th, 2022 board meeting as printed. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Police chief's report.
So the end of this month, the captain received a job offer in another part of the state. So the captain will be leaving, I believe his last day is August or September 30th?
Correct.
So you want to bring your chair up here once? So I want to thank you for your over 14 years of service that you gave to the town of Oakland. Your knowledge, experience, all the administrative duties that you do within the department is going to be missed. And I could not have done what I've done and transitioned as well as I've transitioned if it wasn't for your assistance over the last several months. So for your dedication, the appreciation from the town board, the PD, and the residents of the town of Oakland, we give you this plaque.
Wonderful.
So thank you.
I'd like to thank you, Tracy. You've you've served the town well. You carried the last police chief, helped him a lot, and I really appreciate what you've done to help Jerry get established in his new position.
Thank you. So, it's been a wonderful 14 years. I love working for the township, love the people, but I love my girlfriend a little bit more. So I'm relocating out east and I'm starting out the law enforcement agency in Sheboygan County, city of Plymouth.
Glad you got hooked up there. That's
Yes.
great.
Yes, sir.
I'd hate to have you have this long-distance relationship.
Quite the drive. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck.
I appreciate it.
Good
Thank
luck.
you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again.
Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate it.
So the squad has been ordered. It came in almost $4,000 cheaper than what we first imagined by shopping around a little bit. So squad's about $4,000 cheaper. The equipment was about what I figured was, the outfitted was about $19,100. I was told by the dealership to call them back within about 120 days. Ford's saying 120, they're saying that's not gonna happen. So we might see it in maybe 5 or 6 months. So, but I'll keep everybody posted on that. Jake Danner and Vanessa Leonard. Vanessa needed not hardly any training whatsoever because she's been on patrol for years. She will be starting on her own next week, putting in some patrol shifts. Jake is almost done with his training, so sometime in October he should be set to go on his own as well. The boat and the jet ski, Armando and I were out on the water on Saturday. After we got done with our shift, the boat and jet ski went in for the winter maintenance, so you will not see the boat patrol out there the remaining of the year. And if there's any advice I can give the citizens out there, within the last few weeks, since the big heavy rain that we had, there's been several pontoon boats, rafts, paddle boats drifting away.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of calls.
Yeah. And based and on that as well, the citizens can feel free to call me instead of Liana. I know she's getting the calls and then she just forwards the information to me, so they can call me directly. I'm working on our shoulder patch for our uniforms. Way back in the day, a lot of agencies used the same generic shoulder patch, which had an eagle on it and just, your name on it. And over the years, agencies have wanted to have the patch based on,
He's modeling.
yeah. So agencies have modeled their patch to be more into their community. So I met with a designer today. We're looking at like an oak leaf, and then like a diagram or something of Lake Ripley in the center of it is what we're looking at. So she'll come up with a bunch of different ideas and we'll come up with a new design. And that will probably get carried over to the squad car as well. But that is all I have.
It'd be nice to get that done before the squad comes. That way you'd have it all
Yes.
ready to go.
I'm very confident that that'll be done before we see the squad.
Oh, you'll have,
First, that would be a good thing.
Yes.
you'll have, the truck and four-wheel drive through the winter, the way it sounds.
Yes, yeah. And the Explorer will be all-wheel drive as well, so
Yeah, right.
that'll be nice.
I've had a couple complaints about the traffic on Park Road, especially now since we've got this survey unit going, the
Okay.
speeding and everything. Is it possible to
Sure,
park somebody there just to make a presence known?
sure.
So we do have people walking along Park Road. There's hardly any room to start with, and then when you got the speeders.
And with the 2 new officers coming in, I'm very happy about that, so we'll be out more than what we have been in the past, so,
Thank you.
yeah.
Good. Any other questions for the chief? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Jeff isn't here. Did he have anything to report tonight?
He did not mention
Okay.
anything to me, no.
Clerk treasurer's report.
We are working on absentee ballots for the November election. By state law, they have to be in the mail by Thursday, which they will be. We seem to be getting 2 or 3 applications every day, and we'll be mailing out about 200 on Thursday. We went to training today for the new tax collection program for the county. They have some bugs to work out yet, but they're testing it, so it should be ready, if not for this tax collection season, for sure, in 2023. Working on the budget, we have a recycling grant that we have to have done. And that's about it.
Okay. I didn't ask you, we do need a DNR report for the Lake Patrol. You gonna work with Susan on that, or how are you gonna handle that?
Yes.
Okay.
Which report is that?
There's, for the boat patrol, to offset some of the cost of the officers, there's a grant application that goes in. I've worked with Dave Warner and Bruce in the past, and we did that in December. So
Okay.
we have a little bit of time yet.
Yeah, we get reimbursed for a good portion of our Lake Patrol expenses.
Yeah, it's like
DNR.
75%.
Yeah.
It's like 75%.
And I have been doing those the last 2 months, the monthly report that
Yeah.
I have to turn in by the 10th.
Then you got an annual one to do one.
In
That's
December.
for the grant request.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions for Susan? If not, next item is discussion and possible action on building inspector contract and new building permit fee schedule. If you got a chance to look at that, there's been several changes. Greg, I'll kind of let you overview what the changes are from what we had.
Sure. The proposed requirements that we kind of discussed and you have in front of you really increases now. We only require permits for larger additions, 750 square feet. This would require now interior remodels of just about any size. Anything larger than a very small cosmetic project now would require a building permit. And then it also encompasses grabbing decks and porches that we hadn't before. And then we also lowered the threshold for accessory structures like garages and sheds down to 100 square feet. What this will hopefully do is capture, one, a lot of the modifications of the home that are going in for tax base, and two, I am hoping this will address a lot of construction erosion around sensitive areas that we will now be able to enforce much more strictly. So that's the largest change into what permits we are requiring. The fees, as with everything else in life, just kind of ticked up a bit. Couple dollars per thousand on the commercial industrial. So I think we went up about 15 cents a square foot on the area of construction, went up a couple cents a square foot on the mechanicals, raised the base fee, created a new fee schedule for individual mechanical permits, as those may come in with this lower threshold where a project may only need a building and plumbing permit, or it may need only building and electric, so we had to create kind of a different individual mechanical permit with their own fees associated. So it's a little bit more involved fee schedule, but one, very traditional to what other communities do have, and two, the fees that we are increasing to are still, I would say, relatively lower, much lower than other communities. So we're maintaining a low level of permit fees, but still reasonable for us to operate as a business, and yet still be able to capture a lot of these without too much encumbrance on the townspeople. So I guess that is the general overview of it. I guess if there's any questions or concerns, field them.
Yeah, I have a couple. So the erosion control portion is for the work that's done outside, and obviously not remodeling inside, right? So would it be helpful to have an erosion control permit that we could monitor?
We could. I don't, like I said on the other meeting, the authority I have within erosion control lies within the construction code, and so it kind of correlates or it ties in with a construction permit. So I generally don't issue a standalone erosion control permit. It's included with the building permit. If it's a project, they need a building and erosion permit, and it's just included in that cost. So they have to, I don't call it a permit, but they have rules that they need to follow based on the fact that I've given them a building permit. So there's no explicit permit that they have to get. I kind of find that as a way that inspectors can pad their fee schedule. $50 on plan review, $75 erosion control permit. It's part of the building permit. It's in the building code. It's all part of the building project. I go out there and inspect the erosion control every time I appear on site. I'm looking at it, making sure it's there. So we don't have that individual. I could make that, but I kind of do wrap it in with it because I usually won't issue a standalone erosion control.
So what will be different from what you can do now versus what's written here? Because now you really can't do anything.
I can restrict them from a monetary standpoint and a fine standpoint. No, that's very limited. We would have to add that in, but I can stop construction. So I can go to the point of stopping construction. I will make it difficult for them as far as going through. So I have authority with that. But yeah, we can stop construction is basically there. We can add, if we add in more authority from a standpoint of fining, that's definitely something we can do. So
I think, Jim, that as we had talked about at one point, is we were going to put that into our ordinance and put some monetary fines involved in that, because Greg can't assume a fine.
I don't have citation authority.
Right.
He can turn it over to the chief or the police department to issue a citation, but he himself can't do that.
Right, unless we have a permit, right?
The permit would
the
still
permit-
only allow me to basically stop construction. It
Yeah.
would limit me as far as any sort of penalty. That's got to be built in here locally. So I have kind of that authority of, stopping construction, and
Right.
penalizing them in that manner.
But you could stop it until it's fixed. I mean, I'm not looking to get more money. I mean, if we fix the problem and they can't go any further,
And that's usually a lot of times what I do. I did it twice this week at a project in Jefferson. I failed an inspection because of erosion control. There wasn't anything wrong with the work that I was there to inspect, but I didn't pass the inspection because the erosion control wasn't done. So I do that all the time, and when I have these scenarios, when we have one, if they're not fixing their erosion control, I basically stop approving inspections until that's done. So I don't go through the work of posting a big placard and stopping work order, but I have a conversation with it saying, all right, until that's done, you
Right.
don't stop. It would be nice if I could say, you've got 48 hours to get this done, and if it's not done with 48 hours, I'm gonna send the police chief over there and he's gonna give you a ticket. That would be much more effective. Usually, the threat of stopping construction, but there are some times where they may not be looking for an inspection anytime soon, and it becomes difficult of me hounding them, short for me physically going over there and putting up erosion control. Without that citation, it does get a bit difficult of how hard can I slap their hand.
right?
So we could create an ordinance.
Well,
No,
so
we
we're
we
gonna
have
try
an
to.
ordinance.
Yeah.
We already have a building and mechanical code ordinance. Now, we're going to have to amend it
To
if we approve
capture
this, because the scope of work is now different than what, this was drafted in 2005. And the scope of work, we're changing that, so we've got to do that, so we need to look at
Right.
what other issues we want to deal with, erosion control, then quantify some of this down to code violations and set fines. We
Right.
do have a fine schedule,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah, we got to close the gap. So I've called you before, right? And you said, my hands are tied because it's not over 750 square feet.
Yep.
I can't do a thing. I go to the county zoning, they can't do anything. They erode their lawn into the lake, and that's the way it is. We got to fill this gap somehow through.
Well, and that's, I think, lowering down the threshold where we can capture these, where now I do actually have authority, I can shut them down, and then if I get some citation, or we have citation authority where we can go over them and penalize them in a financial manner if they aren't, replying within, that's the other part. Now I'll have a phone number where I can call this person, you call me and say, hey, this guy over here on Ripley Road's got a problem, boom, I can go in my files, I got a phone number, contractor, owner, call them, say, we got this problem, I've gone over there, looked at it. The chain of being able to get to the person to say, you are violating, this needs to be fixed in a timely manner. Now, I'll be able to capture those projects where it was very few before where I could get those, and the ones that we could handle that you had called me, we generally would go and try to get our arms around and address it in as quick as possible. We've had those few where people are just kind of difficult about
Yeah,
it.
and I'm just asking for help on how we.
Oh, I think adding in these increased permit requirements will most definitely help, and then if we do add the hammer of that on the back end, gives us the full authority that it's only gonna take us a few times to hand out a few citations, and people will understand that we're not messing around with it. So, but this addition of permit requirements, especially, like I said, the accessory structures down to 100 square feet, it sometimes feels a little bit low, and is that, but without doing that, we're gonna miss some of those of where we could have these erosion, and it may become problematic at it. So, I agree with you. This is the first step to closing that gap. The kind of the second step in the final gap to be able to get that full authority would be a little bit more hammer on what financial penalties we can assess on them, and I think we can address the problem pretty largely, other than some landscaping stuff that may sneak underneath the permitted requirements. But I think if you write your ordinance in the correct way, we can still involve those in that citation aspect of it.
So do we want to deal with this as two different things here? Because we've got the resolution for the type of permits and the fees, and then we have the agreement for continued maintenance with Greg. Do you want those as two separate?
Probably.
I think it has to be done separate.
Okay. Susan, did you put a resolution number? for this?
Yes, it is Resolution 22-2.
Do we have a copy of that?
Resolution 22-2 is the one that Greg provided to us, but I'm going to ask if he would email me the Word document so I can put the resolution number on there to put in our resolution book.
Did I just send you a PDF of it?
Yes.
Okay, I will send over the Word, I apologize.
I would move adoption of resolution 22-2.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to approve Resolution 22-2. And that's your building permit requirements, permit fee resolution. So, any further questions on that? Basically, it's what Greg had summarized. If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And then I would move acceptance of the agreement for building inspection services with Greg's company.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to approve the building and inspection services with MZIS in the future. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And then,
Okay.
When do you want this effective?
Immediately?
Probably, do we have to publish something on this?
well, if we do, if we
Not the
redo the
resolution,
ordinance.
but the
with
ordinance
the
The
we-
scope,
ordinance, we will.
We will, so.
But
that'll
the
be
fee
required.
schedule probably can go into effect,
Fee schedule and the permit requirements, we
End of the
can
month.
go into effect end of the month as of October 1?
October 1.
Okay, we'll start enforcing that October 1. I guess
Do people know?
that was what I was gonna,
That seems a little soon to me. I don't know. What if they're in the process now? of
I've
doing
already been warning people, the ones that have been calling me, and that was what I was about to ask. If it comes down to it, generally what I've done with this in the past, when we do change that, if somebody has obtained a zoning permit prior to that date of 10/1 that is under the threshold, I think I would respect the fact that they've gotten their zoning permit first, that they would have gotten in prior to that. After the first of the month, once it's effective, then they would go. So the people who have called me and have talked to me about projects that I knew were going to get past this, I've already kind of warned them about it. There may be people who have been working on projects, planning in the months prior, that they may have already asked me and said, do I need a permit for this? And I've told them no, but they just haven't started. So there may be this kind of weird handful of a few that do come across this, but that is probably how I'm going to approach that, as that if they've got a zoning permit that predates the date of 10/1 of this being effective, I'll consider that they've gotten their permits and approval prior to that. If you want me to treat that differently, I can. I mean, if they haven't started it yet.
First of the year. Make it effective first of the year.
But it doesn't really make any difference when you make it effective. You're going to have that same issue
Yeah.
if it's of January 1.
I would say I would agree and give Greg the latitude.
Yeah.
If there's, Greg, you can have in my opinion, we give him the latitude to do, because he's the one that's had the day-to-day conversation. So if you want to give somebody, you'll know how to handle it.
And if we have ones that get unique, I'll maybe approach the board and see how we want to handle it. Like I said, if somebody called me a few months ago and asked straight up and didn't ask about it, I'm not going to start this till next year. So there may be some of these that do come up. It's no different. I get yelled at all the time for telling people they need permits. So if it comes up and we have an issue, before I'd make something significant, if something of that, I'll bring it back to the board. But I agree. I mean, I understand your point, Jimmy, but there is no good way to do this to try to get it out. I will get our website adjusted so it has most accurate, as of the first of the month. So I'll try to get that done. So on that day.
That's only like 10 days.
But it's not that significant when you really look at it.
But I don't understand what the difference is.
Yeah, I
If
don't
we
either.
start at October 1st, November 1st.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, I agree with you.
You're going to have that same issue.
So we don't need to publish this anyway.
We'll
Not
be
the resolution.
We'll be publishing the ordinance.
The ordinance
when
will get published
when we
when we
get
get
it
that done.
revised.
So
Which will
how would you
contain
deal
all
with
of this.
someone who's in the middle of a remodel?
Oh,
They didn't require any.
They're already
That's already
grandfathered.
Yeah.
They're done.
If they've started prior
Yeah.
to this date.
Nothing you can do.
And that's the one, if somebody, there's gonna be maybe some of these where if they've talked to me and we kind of backtrack. So there are gonna be a handful of this that may be in this weird flux of when we changed it, when did they start, when did they get their zoning permit? My idea is the best we can do is address those as we see them come. I don't wanna try to overly penalize somebody. Fair for one, fair for all. If they legitimately started before this process, they shouldn't have to get held to that standard, but if they didn't start until December 1, so I get it. It's never a good time to just kind of roll
Well,
these things out, but
Right. The information, the education, to let people know would be another reason to let it wait more than 10 days. I mean, we should really educate the people a little bit, shouldn't we?
Well, a lot of people don't even know how much these permits are, really.
The guy that's applying for a permit calls Greg, and Greg at that point tells him what the permit requirements are.
I think if we rely on Greg, because he's the one who has the interaction with these people.
there's a
And
bit.
He's not gonna,
Yeah, there's always a bit of transition in here. The interior models are the hardest ones, because we've been years of not requiring permits for interior remodels. So there's contractors, there's residents, there's guys around here that just operate on that and don't even think of calling me, but have called me in the past to check and make sure, and I said, you don't need a permit for that. So you're absolutely right, Jimmy, the concern of trying to get that. And so if we are catching people that are doing stuff, it's where we will do our best to make sure that we're not penalizing people, trying to educate them. But
We
yes.
can make the mistake of hurrying, but we can't make the mistake of educating and waiting a little longer.
I don't disagree. I mean, we are in that interesting part of the year where people are getting permits, and so it is that time planning has been there. So you make a very valid point, but I don't disagree with what Gene's saying, is that if we did this next month,
I don't
our
really
level
see
of
what the rush
education.
is.
right, they're not gonna really, to my point, how many people are gonna read that if we publish it anyhow, quite frankly?
Well, that's what we think about a lot of things.
It doesn't
And
hurt to
then-
educate people a little bit longer than 10 days.
Posting something on the town website,
Yeah.
maybe posting something out here.
I
you
mean,
know.
30 days is pretty normal for education. I mean, 10 days is a little shy. Seems like we could wait another month or two. I mean,
Well, I have no problem with that.
Why don't we start November 1?
We could
Okay.
certainly do that.
Fine.
Start November 1, and that will give time. We have already been warning people. And so we'll let people know that, hey, this is coming, plan these ahead. There are people that will get permits and start projects now. I mean, that would require a permit. They can kind of sneak them in here under the gun, but You know, I don't disagree with your point. It's probably not a bad idea to try to educate so we can get people to make sure. But, yes, so if November 1 is the date we want to go with, I think that would allow enough time for me to be able to talk to
more
people as the
comfortable
calls
with
come
it.
in, get some stuff on the website, get it out publicly. I'll maybe put a note on my website on the top of the Oakland banner that these fees are changing as of this date, so do what I can to kind of advise people. But like I said, we've already been warning people that this was coming, so I've been doing my best. I'd let them know at the county, but they don't care, they don't warn them any. So. All right, well, we'll make it November 1st. If there's any other changes, let me know.
Sounds fine.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg. Okay, next item, discussion and possible action regarding liquor license for the establishment in Oakland for the period of July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023 for Eating Out Enterprises LLC, doing business as a sports page for Class A beer, Class B beer, Class B liquor, and for a cigarette license. Is that July 1, 2022, correct?
That is,
That's a typical.
that's where the licenses
the annual.
are. And whether she applies for the license and it's granted now, it still only goes till June of
Right.
2023.
Right. Okay,
Courtney is here.
you're starting up in the sports page.
I am. I'm Courtney Sargent. I'm hoping to close on the sports page on Thursday, but that sale is contingent on the liquor licensure. So I'm here today to ask the board to approve a Class A and B beer license and a Class B liquor license and a cigarette sales license.
It's the same current license, the old-
Same current license, yes.
Yeah, it's the same license as
It just doesn't
Dawn had.
transfer. You've got to buy your own when you purchase or acquire a property or business. In this case, it's both.
So you have to buy it now and then buy it again in July, is that what I heard?
Correct.
You can't transfer a liquor license.
They all go
So
the
it has
same
to be-
time
And
period.
they're only fiscally.
So you
not
buy it a
fiscally.
full year now, which is
And
only
then
good
it'll
for,
end June 30th of
That is
2023.
you gotta buy it
correct.
again.
That's
Right.
correct.
Yep.
Not our rules.
State of Wisconsin.
State of
Your
Wisconsin.
plan is to continue kind
Yeah.
of the operation as it's been going, or
Yeah,
you,
so we'll
you're
have.
not going to turn it into a Chinese?
No, not that
Okay.
yet. I'm kind of a culinary human, so the draw to the sports page is the kitchen, the commercial kitchen. So I'm looking to add to cuisine in town. But also, I have a long-lasting relationship with Dawn and Dale. In fact, I told Dawn in 2015 that I was going to buy that bar from her someday. And after looking at probably 120 bars, if not better, I just couldn't stop thinking about the sports page. And so when Dawn and Dale were ready to leave, we asked if they would sell it to us, and they agreed to. But one of those contingencies on the sale is the liquor and beer licensure. And then I just tossed in the extra $100 for cigarettes because why not? I'm already here.
Okay,
Well, they don't have that now?
Cigarettes, no. I think they were actually, Dawn was telling me like 15 years ago or something like that, they got dinged because they weren't checking IDs and they sold to a minor. But to combat that, all of my servers, which is going to be the current staff, will stay. They're already licensed operators, meaning they've gone through ServSafe alcohol and tobacco classes. So they know the proper protocol for serving anything to anyone that where there's an age requirement, I guess would be that. Myself included.
I'd make a motion that we approve the Class A beer, Class B beer, Class B liquor, and cigarette license for the sports page.
I'll second.
okay, motion's made and seconded to approve the Class A beer, Class B beer, Class B liquor, and a cigarette license for Eating Out Enterprises LLC, acting as the sports page. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank
you,
you and
Board.
good luck.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Courtney, you can come in tomorrow and get your license.
Awesome. I got to snap a picture for all my beer guys.
Okay, next item is discussion of possible action on police officer wages effective October 1st to December 31st, 2022. At our budget meeting, we approved a raise for the police officers to kind of match the surrounding communities. And as you know, Jerry has hired 2 new ones, we'd like to keep them as opposed to training them and heading for Lake Mills or somewhere else. So, and we are significantly under budget on police wages because we've been short-staffed pretty much all year. And my suggestion would be to put those wages that we typically would have put in effect first of the year, put them in effect the 1st of October. I'd make a motion to that effect.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to approve the police officer wages that were to go into effect December 31st. That would actually go into effect October 1st of 2022. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
You bet, thank you. Okay, we got a profit and loss statement that Susan put together. I don't know if you've had much of a chance to take a look at that. But if you have any questions on that, we're going to be working on budgets. And this is a good piece of paper to have going into that. So before the day is over, we're going to set a date for a special budget meeting.
The information on those pages reflect what we spent in 2021, what our budget was for 2022, and what we have spent as of August 31st. It also does give balances for our reserve accounts, our money market account, the ARPA account, the checking account. So you have some idea of where we stand in regards to our reserves. 2022 has been a tough year. When we put the budget together last November, we did not realize that diesel fuel was going to over $5 a gallon. The environmental specialists have increased their prices. Badgerland has implemented a fuel surcharge of $720 a month that we did not budget for. So there have been some things like that that have happened in 2022 that we'll have to address when we put the budget together for 23.
Okay.
We're going to be operating pretty tight the balance of the year. One of the things we do have going for us is we have not spent, or we spent very little of the ARPA money, and the ARPA money does qualify for road repair, and we have spent just about $200,000 on roads this year. So if need be, we can tap that to some degree to make it through the end of the year. But like Susan says, fuel costs have doubled. The fuel surcharge from the garbage company, we got no way to recoup that until next year. I mean, we can put it on the levy for next year, but that's all.
Susan, what are elections next year, more or less than normal, or?
There will only be 2 elections in 2023, so that should be a little less.
Okay.
Because we have such good turnouts for elections, we have increased the election staff from 5 to 7. It has helped tremendously, especially counting absentee ballots to deal with that large volume of absentee ballots that we get, that we've increased some of our election workers.
Is
the
there
number.
any plan on how we're going to pay for our half of Park Road? When we start,
That will have to be part of the budget discussion.
is that included here, or?
No. That will be a 2023 expense. So that isn't included that isn't included in what we have spent so far this year.
I don't think we'll be levying anything for that. We'll certainly have to borrow the money, just like we did for Ripley.
But we can't use ARPA funds, or we can?
We could use some of the ARPA funds if we wanted to, yes. But we have other roads to fix too. So a big project like that, and that's what we did with Ripley, we borrowed the entire amount over.
7 years or something?
I don't know, I think
10?
it was
I
10
think it's
years.
10.
Something that we thought we could afford, and no doubt we'll probably be doing the same thing with Park. Hopefully, we can keep that thing to what our estimated cost is. I mean, because whatever we put in for the grant, whatever we got approved for the grant, that's all we're going to get. If the overrun is there, then we're going to have we'll have to take care of that.
Yeah.
Have they started the engineering on that, do you know?
That's what I was just
Yeah,
asking.
we got questions on that already.
Yeah, I've
Saw
got
the
questions too.
They've been out a couple of times. Jeff's been down there with the guys.
Okay.
They've done some of the surveying. I think they were doing some coring the other day when I went by, but I didn't really stop to look.
The coring is done.
Is it? Okay.
Core drilling is done, I know that, and I think the surveying is done.
Well, they're still out there. They were still out
They-
there
they had
today.
stakes.
doing
Well, yeah,
Right.
they need to figure out the drainage and all that stuff. He's gonna be out there quite a bit this fall.
Yesterday, they were doing something with that unit at the corner of Park and 18, that gas unit.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was really horrible what
Well,
was
that would
coming.
have been the gas company. Our engineer would be screwing around with that.
Okay, it was coming into the air back by us.
I could smell that too, even when I
Yeah.
went on 18, I think, when it was coming that way.
They had a tarp blocking, kind of blocking what was going out to the highway, but nothing blocking what was coming down Park Road.
They must have had a line break or something.
Yeah, that would have been, a gas company allowing it.
Our gas never went off, which surprised me because I thought, well, how can they run that, whatever they were doing without turning the gas off?
I don't know.
I think the good news is when you look at our three major roads and most traveled by far, Ripley, Beach/Wolf, and Park, they'll all be
They'll all be done.
They'll
They'll
all
all
be
be
done.
done.
And if you add
Right?
with the highway doing A,
Right, with A too,
All-
that's the
all
other
of our
one.
major
So we'll be
are-
in a good shape from that perspective.
The major
Right.
traveled highways will be done.
That'll be a real good thing, I
That's
think,
a-
a big accomplishment.
Yeah,
Bet it
and
is.
drainage.
but we
Yeah.
get tons of rural roads sitting on our projected list
Right.
for future
A lot less
needs.
travel though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
We're not going to have to do drainage and anything with those things.
most of those are all
Just-
set, so,
right.
yeah. But
In your correspondence, I received an email from Emily Straka from Ranger Power
Yeah.
over the weekend, and they're running into supply chain issues with the solar
Not surprising.
project. And they've notified the participating landowners that they applied to the Public Service Commission to request an extension closer to the current construction start date of June 30th, 2023. Originally, that was, well, the last I had heard was going to be October 30th, 2022. So, so the start date in Oakland, over in town of Jefferson, it's running, they're working over there. But in Oakland, that won't start until June of next year.
Yeah, they're going big guns in Jefferson.
Yeah.
That's a huge drive-by.
So that's a piece of information for you. Okay. Update on the Jefferson Fire EMS contract. Joy and I went over to the Jefferson Fire meeting, Fire and EMS meeting 2 weeks ago, huh? And because our contract is due the end of this year. And it looks like fire is going to be going up 5%. And EMS, total cost of EMS is going up $264 because we only have 88 residents doing that. So Joy, you got anything else to add?
No, they just increased well, for the EMS, the per capita now will be increased every year by
$3.
$3 instead of $2. So it's not that much difference, but we're still below what they actually need to run. And the only other thing is Astalon is asked to come back in with Jefferson Fire again. So
Where were
that's-
they?
What?
Where were
They
they?
left Jefferson Fire 5 years ago and joined Johnson Creek.
Oh, Johnson Creek, okay.
And
Yeah.
that hasn't gone too well, the way it sounds.
Right. And for this contract, there'll be some protection if this happens again, because
Yeah.
it was a big brouhaha before with increased,
Right.
you know,
Taking up their
everybody else
slack.
had to pay
Right,
more because
right.
they were gone.
Yep.
So now, in the actual contract, there'll be some more protection for it if that happens again.
Yeah.
Other than that, everything's pretty much the same.
Okay, any questions?
Oh, if you want to know for the truck, well, they ordered that
Tanker.
tender truck, but that's still not expected till 2024.
Yeah.
And 2025 for this contract is the only truck that's a heavy rescue
Yeah.
truck, but he said he probably wouldn't order a heavy,
But, yeah, they're not going to order a heavy rescue.
right. There'll be some,
But he didn't know what they were going to order.
right,
But they knew it wasn't going to be that big thing that they got.
right. So that's it.
We just have a small part of the town that's covered by by the city of Jefferson. But it's still important to have a good relationship with them, as well as Fort Atkinson that covers another chunk of it in Cambridge, of course. Okay, correspondence, we got court documents.
And I did not receive minutes from the Cambridge
Didn't see that.
Community Fire.
So we didn't have a meeting.
They didn't have a
Didn't have a
meeting
meeting yet.
with minutes, no.
We did add to the letters, the letter that was sent to the people at Faith Lutheran Church. Mary's taken over the case and sent them a letter that said you need to respond by next week or she will file raise and repair order. Because we have heard nothing and we have no substantiation. They sent us a letter August 30th, but they didn't provide any documentation that supports that they really did sign a contract for tree removal or anything. So we have no way of knowing what's happening. So Mary's requiring them to provide that, and if they don't, and we asked Chief to go deliver the letter in person, and he ended up mailing them because they didn't answer the door. So
Well,
Mary's got that now.
it was pretty obvious we needed to put some teeth into it.
Yeah.
Greg, the building inspector, the assessor, Ted and I both met with them. And, you know, they heard everything we said, but did absolutely nothing at this point. So we got to get something going on it. So that letter that Mary put together is in your correspondence as well. Okay, approval of disbursements.
Make a motion that we approve disbursements, beginning with electric fund transfer to the Wisconsin Retirement System, through and including electric fund transfer 70616751 in the aggregate amount of $91,105.83.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to approve disbursements in the amount of $105.83. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next meeting date, we need to set a meeting date for budgets. And Susan, I'm going to let you lead that because you know when we ought to be thinking about doing that.
There is no plan committee meeting. We have not received any agenda items as of today, so there will be no plan committee meeting the first Tuesday in October, which is October 4th. If we could come back and look at the draft budget for 2023, we will not have all of the information that we need, but we'll have a good share. Enough to make some decisions. And then we need to have the budget approved by an elector meeting, knowing that we have an election here on the 8th. And Jean and Ted, you're going to be gone sometime in November. Would you like that budget approved before?
Well, we had kind of targeted the 25th of October,
I have,
because
yeah.
that would give us a budget meeting and a regular meeting to complete the budget, and then that would give us the electors meeting then.
Because if the town electors meeting is on the 25th, I need to know that fairly soon so that I can properly notice that.
Are we going to have all our numbers by the end of October? That's,
I would need, well, that is pretty,
because our board meeting's on the 18th.
and I have to have a proposed budget to publish.
Right.
Otherwise, we end up going into,
We can go November 1st because the election isn't until the 8th.
right, we can maybe, if we do get something for plan committee, we can maybe fudge with that as far as a day or a date. So if you want to put it off till November 1st, that's,
Would that be the first or the second?
That would be the first Tuesday in November, but the election has to be the first Tuesday after the first Monday, so that's why it's the 8th. The general election is the 8th of November, and there is Tuesday the 1st.
So November 1st for the,
The electors meeting?
yeah.
I think I'd feel more safe doing that because typically in years past, we always have stragglers getting their numbers to us. We know what shared revenue is and state aids are for highways, right? At this point already.
Shared revenue has come in. They have not changed for 2023, they have not changed. And general transportation aids are estimated to go up 4%, but I don't have the letter yet.
Okay.
So are we actually having a or a budget meeting October 4th? I mean, or not?
That would be a working session.
Right.
I think we need to do that.
Yeah.
And I want to get this on my calendar if it's.
Yeah, we need to have a work session to approve a whole bunch of items in there that she needs to get.
Well, I know, she just threw it out, and I'm trying to clarify so I can get
Yeah,
my
and
schedule.
that-
If I don't have it on there, I'm not going to know.
Okay, so on Tuesday, October 4th, we'll have a working session
At what
for the
time?
budget.
What time?
What, I don't care. Whatever fits your schedule.
Do you want to go a little earlier? Do you want
We can go earlier if you'd like.
to?
Well, yeah, I can't do it during the day.
no,
No, but could you go at like 6 o'clock versus 7?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, then we'll have,
Should we do 6 o'clock
I
on
can
the
do
4th?
6, I think. I've got a meeting that goes to 5, but that's fine. I don't think I have to be there.
You make it 6 or
I think I can do 6.
okay, and then we'll have our regularly scheduled board meeting on the 18th.
right?
I'm going to be in Washington DC on business. I'm not going to be there for that one. just
On the
FYI.
18th.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got conference there.
And then November 1st,
We'll have the electors meeting.
electors meeting.
Same time, 6 o'clock?
No, that'd be 7.
That would be 7, yeah.
Susan, those first Tuesdays are those plan meetings. So
Right, but we can be flexible. Well, yeah, we can, or we can always alter time a little bit, because all of those guys are retired, so. And there's only one project that I'm aware that's hanging out, and he hasn't done his paperwork, so, yeah.
And then we'll have the regularly scheduled board meeting on the 15th of
15th of
November.
November, yeah.
Yep,
November 15th.
yep. But we'll have the budget approved November 1st, which is fine. I need to have everything to the county by the 29th of November. And that will give me time to get everything to the county.
So November 1st, when was the meeting time again?
The meeting time on November 1st is 7 o'clock.
And then the 15th.
If you would like, I can send out an email.
Depends on how much email you send it to me for, eh?
And then our regular meetings.
I always look at my
15th,
personal or
so.
my work. So that, we're looking at approval of the budget for the meeting?
Yes. Well, the
So,
setting of the levy.
like for the fire, you pretty much just guess on, because we'll never have,
I talked to Mark Cook at the Cambridge Fire Commission, and I asked for numbers by October 1st. He said he's going to try. I believe Fort's contract
that's a,
Set.
every year.
Fort
That's
Fire, we know what that is. That's, we got
Yeah.
a long-term with that. EMS, we know what it's going to be, we just haven't got the final contract yet.
final draft.
In Jefferson, that's easy.
And Jefferson is same
Yeah.
thing, so.
But I have spoken with Mark Cook at the Cambridge
Okay.
Fire.
Is it 7?
Okay,
Yeah.
all set
Motion to
for meeting
adjourn?
times? Yes.